Good afternoon. We're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you all for being here. As you all are finding your seats, thank you. We'll start with a roll call.
Today is August 27th, 2025. The time is 4:32. Trustees in attendance are Carla Gugliello, Joanne Harris, Josie Martinez.
Here.
Andrea Sanchez Muniz is absent. Marianne Valdez Hernandez.
Here.
Fernanda Cardenas is absent. Michelle Dalvez Robledo is absent. Marcy Ince. Beth Graham.
Here.
Judy Cruz is absent. Jaspreet Kaur.
Here.
Chair, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Let's start with a silent meditation. Take a moment to bring our attention to the work that we have ahead of us today. Okay, next we'll move to the next item, which is approval of minutes. The minutes were sent out in advance of this meeting and are also in your packet, and I will entertain a motion for approval of the minutes from the board meeting from July 23rd, 2025.
I move that we accept the minutes as printed.
I second.
Thank you, Joanne and Josie.
Carla Gugliello. Joanne Harris. Josie Martinez.
Aye.
Andrea Sanchez Muniz is absent. Marianne Valdez Hernandez.
Aye.
Fernanda Cardenas is absent. Michelle Dalvez Robledo is absent. Marcy Ince. Beth Graham.
Here.
Judy Cruz is absent. Jaspreet Kaur.
Aye.
The motion passes.
Thank you. Next, we have public comments, but no one has signed up for the public comments, so we'll move on to the report from the library board chair. And in the interest of time, knowing that there are both budget meetings and other meetings today, I am going to save my full report, chair report, until next month. I thank you all for your support in doing the same with your trustee reports. I did want to just mention one item, which is that yesterday Sukrit Goswami and I did present the library budget during the presentation to the city council, and during that briefing was recorded. And I understand that someone from the library staff will be sending out a link to all the trustees, so if you did not have a chance to see that, you can watch the replay. And then the remainder of my items I'll share with you all next month. And then with that, I'm also going to skip item number 3. Hopefully you all saw the heads up that I provided to you about that. And we will discuss the 2 months worth of activity in our next month's meeting. So next we have a report from the library director.
Thank you, Jaspreet. I'm going to respect this time crunch for today, so I will just mention a few important things. First of all, I wanted to start by welcoming Virginia Martinez, who started last week as our new executive secretary. She brings 13 years of experience with the city of San Antonio, and she's here with us today.
Welcome.
Thank you. We also, on August 2nd, we celebrated 95th anniversary of the Carver Branch Library. It was a fantastic event. Vice Chair Joanne Harris attended that event along with many of our trustees. So thank you, everybody, for coming that day. Other things, our Carver Branch Library is right now closed because of the renovation and expansion, but we are working from an interim site, and I would like to thank our Director of Parks and their team, and of course, our wonderful staff who made this happen. So we basically have created a mini library at Denver Heights Community Center. And I will encourage all of you to go and visit. We have about 8,000 books. We have 12 computers. We have a small area for small programs, story times. We also have some seating area for people. We also have a couple separate areas for tables. And all thanks to our staff who made it happen like very quickly. I was about to mention our Assistant City Manager. David, thank you for being here, and thank you for your support. And our Bazan Branch Library is scheduled to temporarily close on September 15, and the closure will be for 16 to 18 weeks, and we do have an interim site for arranged for our services for Bazan's community. So I'm going to skip other items, but it will be part of the written director's report, which is included. So most of these items are included in there. So now we have Scott Williams, who will share information about a feel-good story that went viral, and that's the one Jaspreet covered during our budget presentations, and which was very well received by council members.
Thank you, Mr. Library Director. Good evening, afternoon, I guess, Trustees, Madam Chair. Thanks for having me for a few moments. I'll be brief, and I'm also running our live stream tonight, so pardon me if I drift into the iPad for a moment while I'm going through this. I just wanted to share a story that I think most of you have probably already heard by now, but what I really want to bring into focus is the impact of what happened after we received this book that you see on the screen. So in June, we received this package that included a book that had been checked out from the San Antonio Public Library in 1942. And it came packaged with a letter from the person who returned it, letting us know where it had been for the last almost 82 years. Rachel Lewis in our technical services department recognized that there was something special about this book and this story, and so she shared it via email with several other library staff, including myself. The letter writer apologized for its very overdue status and mentioned that their grandmother, who they believe checked it out, will no longer be able to pay the fine. Of course, there is no fine for this book or any book at the San Antonio Public Library. Really what I want to talk about is the impact of what happened after we decided to release this story. So the story of a long overdue book returning back to the library is not necessarily unique. It's happened to us before. It's happened to a lot of libraries around the globe. What makes this story impactful is that letter that came with it, and the fact that we know where it has been all this time, and the fact that the letter writer took the time to let us know the story of the travels of this book. So we knew it would resonate, and we decided to share the story on social media and also via a press release. But we really could not have imagined how far this story would go. So I'm going to update these numbers a little bit because these are based on figures. This story is still in the news cycle. We released a news release about this on August 14th. And this is a visual that represents just how far the reach has been. As of today, it's been covered in over 30 countries worldwide, and it's been translated into a dozen languages. And so what's on the screen here is really just a sample of some of the major news organizations that have covered our little book that could. So the Associated Press covered it on August 15th. That really kicked off a firestorm of news coverage around the world. Also, U.S. News & World Report, Newsweek, of course, the Express News locally did a segment about it, as did every major news organization in San Antonio. We had coverage in Brazil, in the UK via The Independent, in Ireland, in almost every country in Europe, in several countries in Asia. We were on broadcast television in New Delhi, India. We were in the newspaper in the West Australian. All total, we've had 136 broadcast television segments about this story, over 900 radio segments, and 962 online news segments about our book. So the new number is actually 1,999 total mentions. Does anyone have a blog to push us over 2,000. Print media is not included in these metrics, but the story was also covered in many print publications. I want to share with you that the publicity value of this story, which is the estimate of how much it would cost for us to purchase this level of awareness, is $47.6 million. And our media monitoring, thank you. Our media monitoring service, which calculates all of these metrics for us by crawling the internet and crawling broadcast media, tells us that the estimated potential audience for this story was nearly 2.8 billion people. So all told, more than a third of the population of our planet may have been reading a news story about the San Antonio Public Library in the last 10 days. And each of them now knows that the SAPL no longer charges late fines. In case you missed it on your way in, the book and the letter are displayed in a museum case near the entrance, right next to our return slot. So if you didn't get a chance to see it on the way in, please check it before you leave today. I do want to recognize a few members of my team. Cheyenne Daniels, who was responsible for the social media component of this story. I didn't mention the social media metrics, but they were exorbitant. Also, we had over 100,000 impressions between Instagram and Facebook, and we gained about 500 new followers on Instagram alone just from this one post. And then I also want to recognize the newest member of my team, Yvonne Ramirez, who wrote the press release and responded to many, many, many requests for information from reporters over the last few weeks about this book. So I know Jaspreet mentioned that the link for yesterday's budget work session will be sent out, and I'm not even going to try to be as eloquent and poignant as Jaspreet was about how impactful this story is for the library in raising the profile of libraries in general, and especially ours. So I encourage you all to watch the work session yesterday to see her put that finer into view. But that was just my little fun contribution to the director's report. Thank you. The person who returned the book did so anonymously. They signed off with initials. They included the name of their grandmother who checked the book out, but we don't know who the actual individual is. We do know that the story has aired multiple times in the state of Oregon, which we know is where the book was mailed from. They mentioned that they mailed it from the state of Oregon. So we're secretly hoping that maybe they'll come out of the woodwork and let us know who they are, and we can make an even greater story about it. We did receive a request from the television show Inside Edition to, if the person presents themselves to us, they want to interview them and also interview the library about the story. So we're keeping in contact with that producer, and if the book returner is watching this right now, please reach out to us and let us know who you are. We would love to speak with you.
Fines.
There are no late fines. You will not pay a dime for this book.
There's always Ancestry.com, Scott.
I thought about that, yes. Any other questions? Thank you all very much.
I have a very brief, what was the reason for the time lag between receiving the book and releasing the news? And by the way, congratulations to everybody. This is, yeah.
It was finding a spot in our very, very busy news cycle. So we knew that we had a story on our hands. There was some preparation that we had to undertake in order to get ready to announce it. We knew we wanted to display it at Central Library, and so we had to have some space, and we had to have an available display case to put it in. We knew we had to document the book and photograph it. We knew we had to create the materials, and so that's the reason for it taking about a little over a month for us to package and actually share the story. Yeah, good question. Thank you.
Before you walk away, kudos to your entire team. I had the pleasure of meeting Yvonne yesterday, but obviously you have a much bigger team behind the scenes that's doing everything, and it's fantastic. Not just the 46 million, but the 46 million is huge for the city, but also the fact that you're elevating the way that we're telling stories about the library and making it more about just the library, which is what the library is about. It's more than just the books, right? So I think that's the key that we all should be talking about and taking away. And so I just want to commend you for your leadership in that. Thank you so much for everything that you've done, Scott. And Sukrit, does that conclude your report?
I have one more item I'm going to mention. Yeah. So we are looking forward to celebrate the 95th anniversary. I know it's 95th Carver before, and now it's 95th for San Pedro Branch Library, which is scheduled for Saturday, September 6th. The invitations have been mailed out, and I hope all of you are able to join us and celebrate this day with us. So, and that concludes my report.
Thank you. Okay, next we have the budget report. And it's budget season, so I'm sure Gabby's looking forward to talking about the budget a little bit more.
I love getting up here after a nice story like that, just to talk about some boring numbers. But good afternoon, board members and board chair. I'm going to provide the brief overview for the end of July. You've got it already on your green sheets there. So 83% of the fiscal year had elapsed as of the end of July. We were at 82% spent, and which includes the encumbrances, or 81% without them. So we're still slightly behind on spending, but we are still projected to be within 1% under our budget for the fiscal year end. And this is, I guess it's the same as the last couple of years. We've been within 0.5, 0.4, 0.7% of our budget. So during the last couple of months, we'll still continue to monitor our expenses. If we see some savings somewhere, we'll probably inject a little bit more into our resources to address patron holds. The other thing I just wanted to mention is under the 2025 major gift section, we are at 69% spent on the donations from the foundation and the Friends, which we have till the end of December to spend. So we're well ahead of schedule on those donations and spending of them. So I'll just take a quick thank you to both the foundation and the Friends for their continued donations for the library. That completes my report, but if y'all have anything.
Can you just, I'm sorry, 1% would be approximately how much if you do say 1% from this year?
It's going to probably be about $350,000.
Okay, thanks.
Questions? Thank you.
That is an estimate, so please don't quote me on that.
Thank you.
Unaudited
You're still
numbers.
spending, I know.
Thank y'all.
Okay, thank you. And next, we have a report from the Executive Committee. The Executive Committee did meet on August 19th, 2025, to set the agenda for tonight's meeting. Next, the report from the Advocacy Committee, they did not meet. And then next, we have a report from the Budget Committee.
Yes, we did meet. We met a couple of times, and I guess she's going to give.
Kathy going to provide? Okay.
Yeah,
Kathy, you're
Kathy
going to
will
provide
provide
an update.
the report.
The Budget Committee did meet on August 13th, and later in your agenda, you'll receive an update on the fiscal year 2026 budget.
And then the Facilities Committee also did not meet this last reporting period. So next is a report from the Naming Committee.
The naming committee did meet. Dale, would you like to give just a brief summary of our meeting?
The naming committee held a public meeting on August 25th here in this room to consider 2 names related to Texana. We'll probably bring a report from the recommendation from the naming committee to the September meeting.
Next, a report from the Nominating Committee.
The nominating committee did meet on August 26th. Jessica, would you give a brief summary on that?
Good afternoon, Jessica Zarita, Assistant to the Director. The Nominating Committee met on August the 26th. Assistant City Attorney Cristina Hernandez was in attendance as well to provide information related to bylaws and regarding the process. The committee is going to be reaching out to trustees, and then we'll be regrouping at a later date to further discuss and then have a recommendation memo sent out to the full board in accordance with the bylaws.
Next, a report from the Ad hoc Board Policy Committee. Fernanda is not here, but she did indicate that they met on August 6, 2025. And Dale, you're going to provide an update?
Say exactly that. The committee did meet on August 6th, and there is an action item on today's agenda.
Thank you. Next, a report from the Ad hoc ILA Committee, and we did meet on August 19th. However, we don't have any new information from the last month to share. I will share, though, that Sukrit and Mr. McCary, our Assistant City Manager, are in communication with our peers over at the Bexar County and will provide us an update as soon as we have one. Next, a report from the San Antonio Public Library Foundation.
I apologizing for anyone who tried to talk to me at the beginning of this meeting. My board chair's email was hacked, and everyone on my board received a scam email about they needed to send him money because the foundation was in trouble and needed money. So I was trying to take care of that and communicate with my 40 board members that that was a scam, and please disregard that. So
If they're watching the meeing
if
live,
I was, yes,
they also know now.
anyone's watching this meeting, disregard that email from Cameron Redding. So in case I didn't finish a sentence with you at the beginning of the meeting or seem like I was in a hurry, that was what was happening when we walked in. So for Katrina Ball, we were finally able to do a walkthrough at the Ralston at the zoo. The construction is done for the most part, so all of the areas that we are using are finished. We probably will not have gorillas in the enclosure for the event. That they kind of focused their resources on finishing the event space, and so that is complete and will be all set for the event on November 1st. We only have 15 tables left, so I will be getting with Jessica Zarita very soon to collect your RSVPs so we can find out how many of you are going to join us, because that space is a little bit smaller than the diagram that they originally gave us. So, but it's fine. It'll be great. It'll be great. The view from the patio at the Ralston is incredible. It not only looks over the zoo, but it looks downtown, and it's going to be a really, really special event venue once they get everything done. We are still having preliminary meetings and reaching out to potential donors for the Carver Capital Campaign. The two of note that are very interested and will invest in some way are Valero and the Area Foundation. So we are in the process. They both have very long, drawn-out processes for requesting large gifts, and so we are actively starting those processes with those two entities. Our Literacy Caravan program kicks off next week for this school year. We've got new schools and new books, and we're super excited about that as we continue forward with that. Looking toward 2026, we have signed the contract for Over the Edge. So our Over the Edge event will be May 16th. 2026 at the Thompson Hotel again, and our literacy luncheon, which some of you went to, but it was a huge success, an event where you can bring your children. We had some of our caravan kids there, and we not only plan to do that again, but we have already secured our author. We will have Drew Daywalt, who is the author of The Day the Crayons Quit and about 70 other books, but nicer guy you will never meet. We were in contact with him very early on. Usually it takes about a year to secure an author for a luncheon like that. And he immediately was, yes, I will be there, and we've been working with him. So I think that's going to be really special, and also super easy to decorate with the crayon themes. So that makes things a lot better. So that is October 18th of 2026. And location on that to be determined. We will likely be back at the Whitty Museum where we were for last year's luncheon. We've discovered that the Ralston's a little too expensive for luncheon purposes. Are there any questions? Carla did ask me on the way in if tickets were still available, because she wants to buy her ticket for her husband, and yes, tickets are still available. You can go to our website or on our Facebook page. There's a QR code and a link to the website. Anything else?
Thank you. Thank you, Amy. Next, we'll have a report from the Friends of the San Antonio Public Library.
I guess everyone is excited if they haven't heard about Back to School book sale. We had about 1,500 attendees, and we made over $10,000 at the book sale. The bookseller made $4,000. So a very huge thanks to Jessica Zarita and all of her help during and after the book sale. Amazing. I got pictures of her working, so you got a good gal there. That's all I can say. Also, we sold out of the old bookseller tote bags and the Friends tote bags. So we felt like, yay, we hit it, eureka. Also, a special thanks to Scott and his team on all of the promotion work that they did for that event. It was fantastic. And we had about 10 friends in the 2 days to come and help. And it was quite exhausting, but quite fun, and it was happy to see everyone come out and be so excited about it. If you get a chance, go down to the bookseller. We now have new coffee mugs and coffee. I know everybody's going to want it. Don't worry. There's plenty. So try to make it down there to see both the new items that we're going to be selling. I did attend District 10 budget meeting, and the turnout was fantastic. Afterwards, I introduced myself to Eric Walsh and thanked him for the increase for the libraries. He said that because of Sucrete and Kathy Donlin, they did a wonderful job on the budget. So thank you both. I'm totally excited about the budget. And Friends are in the process of starting their various committee meetings, and we're going to begin on August 31st, and our budget needs a lot of work on it, and so we're going to be putting a lot of thought and changes into our budget this year. Bylaws is going to be meeting. We're going to be making some changes on those. So there's a lot going on between now and October 15th for the Friends. At the last Friends board meeting, I had Kimberly with Arts and Culture come and give a presentation on the libraries that are having renovation done to them and the artwork where it's going to be placed. She talked about the artist and different artwork that will be placed over at the Carver, which I think is so exciting. I did receive a lot of thank yous from the members that attended from the Friends because they never get out and see things like that. So I thought that was a very positive feedback that they liked that for a change. Also, I included in your packet this Amazon data sheet. And some of you all have asked, how's it going? Is it going? And that. I did not supply you with magnifying glasses. So it's very tiny. So anyway, I thought you all would get a kick out of seeing how the sales are going, and I'll start bringing that to the meeting and let you all see. So this is the first one, and then I'll have another one every month for you so you can see how we're progressing or not progressing when you look up at the top of it. So our next board meeting is Sunday, September 28th, 2 p.m. at McCreeless. I'm making a few changes to that board meeting as well. So let's see how well that goes. Anything else?
I'd just like to add that I volunteered at the book sale, and I wish City Council could have been here, because the outpouring of love for the library and the Friends was amazing. Both days were so crowded you couldn't stir people with a stick. Nobody was angry. Nobody was crabby. People were glad to wait. If you apologized for the wait, they were all like, no problem, we're just here to support the library. And this was just such a great event for the library and for the community. And I would like to personally add my thanks to the library staff for the work they did, and also to the Friends and the bookseller staff and volunteers, because everybody just worked their hearts out. So thank you.
Right, it really was.
It was, next year we need to get video up here and take people if we do it again.
I had that question. Is there a plan to do another book sale? Can we make this an annual event? It seemed like such a success.
Well, I hear there's rumors. I am kind of changing our rules for new board members, that they need to start coming forth and participating in these things. So, you know, it's going to work, and just as soon as somebody tells me we're going to, I hope we do. We have lots of good books that need to get out to the public. And I would thank the people as they were walking out, and they said, can you have another one? And I'm thinking, ooh. But that all changed. But yes, there is an interest in having another one, and I think it would be great too. We were surprised how many came out on Friday. We thought everybody would be at work. No, they were in the line, you know. That was amazing.
Yeah, it was really impressive. And after, for me personally, after coming up here and seeing everyone, I went down to the bookseller also to see what was new there, because I happened to be here, and maybe that contributed to the boost in sales that you all also saw that day. And the bookseller was packed to the gills. There were so many people. I had a hard time maneuvering through the aisles in a good way. Like, there were so many people down there.
Totally,
So it was
yes.
fantastic, yeah. So kudos to you and your team. And I think you had a lot of sponsors that helped you with the bags at the, like, on day 2 to help deliver some of the bags. So I think it was fantastic, and I look forward to hearing more about another one.
I am too. I'm ready to get going again. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It was also great publicity for the bookseller. I talked to a bunch of people on Saturday who didn't know about the bookseller. So after they finished here, they went downstairs, yeah.
Next, thank you, Liz. Next, we have a report from staff regarding the Carver Branch Library. Kathy, you're going to do an intro?
So more good news. This staff briefing is to share with you some of what goes into delivering interim services when we close a branch for a major improvement project. And so just to share a little bit of context for the board, and then it will be my pleasure to introduce Dr. D.L. Grant, who is the branch manager of the Carver branch, who will share some kind of more on the ground how it's going at our interim service location. So in the past, as many of you know, we have collaboration with partners to deliver interim services when we close a branch library. So we have partnered with St. Mary's University, Parks and Recreation often, Our Lady of the Lake University, and even a city council office. So we continue to, as needed, explore partnership opportunities with others. And just again, to echo Sukrit's thanks to the Parks Department in particular, they have been very generous in being venue for us in the past. Here are just a couple of examples of interim service, because it does vary. Our main goal is to have the community have easy access to the interim site. So the sites can vary in terms of size and therefore kind of the service delivery that we do, but the team gets super creative and delivers a ton of service, sometimes in a very small space. So you see a couple of pictures of interim service sites there. For the Carver Branch Library project, of course, we are very near to the official start of construction. So we had to close down the building to do kind of the pre-construction staging, and at the same time, we launched the interim service at the Denver Heights location, which you'll see in just a minute. So this is, again, the project, the 2022 bond project, that's $12.5 million plus $300,000 for public art. And this is being designed by Alta Architects, and the construction contract is Byrne Construction Services. They have been fantastic. This is a complete renovation of the existing footprint of the branch, which is almost 12,000 square feet, and then an expansion of 2,600 square feet. We do expect the project duration, once construction starts in September, to be about 20 to 24 months. That's a little conservative, but that's about what we're looking at, which will give plenty of time for the foundation to raise capital campaign. So that's a good thing. So what do we consider? Obviously, we consider the timeline of the project itself and when we plan to close the branch. We consider what community uses that branch, what makes sense in terms of a location to best make the interim service accessible to the community. We make a plan and then we implement. And it was a really exciting week, the week before Carver closed and the week before we opened Denver Heights. The closure happened on the same day we opened Denver Heights. So that was a lot of fun and a lot of work by a lot of people. So we always have a robust communication plan to announce the closure of the branch, but also the interim service site to get as many people to the interim service as possible, and then also keep the facilities committee and the board as a whole updated on the project. So this is the wonderful Denver Heights Community Center. It's at 300 Porter Street. This is a Parks Community Center. It's one that they have been using for what they call open play, which mainly means they make the building available to the public. There's a gym, there's a dance studio, and then there was this big open 2,000 square foot room that was mainly used for people to just congregate, play games that they had out. And then I love my colleagues at Parks, but they had a very sad shelf of books in the space. So I think we helped them out by putting some collection there. So the community really uses it, but it's mainly just available for the public to use. There's not a lot of programming that goes in there. So one of the things I really need to give a shout out, particularly to the Parks Director, Homer Garcia. He was excited that the room that we're in would be activated with all these new services. So the interim services include a computer use, printing, copying, a big collection of books and materials. It's about 8,000 items. Curbside pickup, and then we will be doing programming. And you'll see in a minute, there's even some age-based areas and special areas in the room. It's about 2.8 miles from Carver. And then one of the most exciting things is because Parks is letting us use this dedicated room, and we're the only use of the room, we're able to do the full schedule of services. So 56 hours a week and 7 days a week. So with that, I will introduce D.L. Grant, who is our Carver branch manager and currently the manager of Denver Heights. And he'll walk you through some of the service areas and talk about how things are going.
Good evening. My portion of the presentation is to kind of walk you through what you'll see when you visit that space. It's a magnificent space. We're so happy to be there. I mean, people walk in there and, you know, you get a lot of wide smiles because they know what that space looked like. So what you're looking at now is what you would see. This is what would greet you as you walked into that space. It's magnificent. It's bright. It's airy. You're looking at our collection, and it's just great being there and welcoming new faces. You're looking at the children's area. This is, Kathy talked about age-based services. There you go. There's your children's right there. It's fun to watch parents come in there with their children. We're not seeing a whole lot, but it's growing. As word catches on, you're going to see, we're seeing more and more come in there and enjoying that space with their young ones. The computers, you know, that draws a lot of people. We want to attend to the information needs of the community, and we're able to do that. We're very fortunate to be able to offer, to get that many computers in there, because we know that's a big draw for a lot of people. They don't have the connection at home. Here they can get it from their San Antonio Public Library location. Seating. Now, I mean, this is one of my favorite slides because doesn't that just make you want to sit down and enjoy a magazine or an express item? I certainly think so. And we do see people doing that, so it's great. The chairs are comfortable, people just settle in, and they enjoy themselves. This is a service point. You'll see the stage is where we have some of our computers located. To your left, you see the service desk, people checking out what you would check out your books, things like that. So Denver Heights, like the slide implies, Denver Heights is, we're getting there. We're seeing people come in. I want to share we don't have a lot of time, but I just want to share an observation that I've observed. Denver Heights is starting to get regular customers. We have begun to host programs in that space. The Deaf Club, for example, met on Thursday, August 14th, with about 15 people. And I want to say last week, the Crochet Club even came, and they had almost as many people there, so that's good. People are sticking with us. Overall, visitors were amazed that we were able to transition the space into a library. We made new friends as well. We've seen parents come in and select books with their small children. Teens from Poe Middle School are visiting. We really were interested in that because we wanted to get, you want to see you want to see teens come in. Our assistant manager, Chris Castillo, I'm going to give him a shout out. He reported that the sleeper hit with the games. Thank you, Haley. And Chris, they ordered some games and they're being put to good use. And the puzzle table. People like puzzles. They really do. And the Denver Heights staff have been phenomenal. I just want to say they embody COSA values. They really do. Mr. Vicari, I want you to know that they do. And Mr. Goswami, they do. They embody those values of professionalism, teamwork, and they welcomed us with open arms. Thank you for my time.
I'd like to make a comment. I really am happy about the site and what the staff did, and I just can't express how happy I am. And the other is that there's so much traffic of children, and where we miss some of them at the regular site, but if the children start coming for 20 months, then they're going to go ahead and go to the Carver when it moves back. But they have little painted rocks, and it's going to be a lot of traffic for children in that area. Thank you.
Did we move the entire Carver collection over there? Because it looks like there's space.
Well, it certainly felt like it. But we did not move the entire Carver collection, but we moved as much collection as we could possibly have in the branch, I called it a branch, there you go.
Yeah.
In the Denver Heights interim service location, with keeping like the minimum space between the stacks that you have to have and those
Right.
types of things. But we were able to have a collection of about 8,000 items. And I will be very honest with you, that was a stretch goal that we were given by our boss, and I was a little wary that we could make it happen, but he was right, and we did it, and it's a really big collection.
Looks fantastic. I haven't been there yet. I plan to visit, but it looks much more impressive than any of the other interim sites that we've had, just because it's such a great space. I think that's fantastic. Thank you.
I have one more question. Are we linking to Denver Heights from the Carver link on the locations page?
That's an excellent question. Scott knows the answer.
So we're not linking to the Denver Heights page on the parks side, but we do have comprehensive information about the Carver interim site on the Carver location page. So when you Right. It indicates that the branch is closed, but then it also has information about the interim site, the location, the hours of the interim location, what services are available, et cetera.
And I assume we're doing that with the other locations as well?
Yes, any location we close for interim service, we indicate that the branch location is closed, and then we also have the information about the interim site listed there on the location page. Yeah. Yes.
It almost is like a great suggestion, though, to also work with Parks Department and get the library information on that page, since it's going to be an extensive time period.
Absolutely. You just absolutely read my mind. That's the only reason I stood back up, because Beth, I think that is you've led us to a great idea. We should cross-pollinate. Thank you, Jeffrey.
Thank you both. All three of you, actually. Thank you, Scott, as well. Next, we have an update on the fiscal year 2026 proposed budget for the library department, and we have some slides for this, so Crit's going to provide us with an overview.
So on August 26th, yesterday, we presented our library's fiscal year 2026 budget to Mayor and Council. Our board chair, Jaspreet Kaur, attended and delivered remarks. They were well received by the council and the other attendees. Also, the budget town halls have been happening all across the council districts. Tonight is the last one, which is at District 8. Again, like in most of the town hall meetings, people have been asking questions about like all different things which are happening in the cities and how city is distributing the funds. But once in a while, we do get a few library questions. And our library staff have been present at each and every town hall meeting. So City Council is also expected to adopt the fiscal year 2026 budget on their September 18th City Council meeting. So for the fiscal year 2026, our proposed budget is $58 million. Out of this, $55.5 million is from the general fund. $1.4 million is from grants, basically, and also private gifts from our partners, such as our San Antonio Public Library Foundation and our Friends of San Antonio Public Library, along with $1.2 million investment in our buildings through capital projects. We have 554 positions in various different roles dedicating to service to our community. Now, this pie chart reflects the board priorities that we followed while developing this 2026 proposed budget. In terms of new funding, the proposed budget includes an addition of $1.3 million. This one-time funding is included to upgrade and enhance intrusion alarm systems at 8 library locations. Capital outlay is proposed in an amount of $266,000 to replace furniture and equipment at 22 library locations. Across the system, over 450 technology devices will be replaced with this $710,000 in technology updates. This investment aligns with our strategic plan and ensures that our furniture and technology remain modern, functional, and well-maintained, creating a welcoming and efficient environment for all who use our facilities. We all know we have 30 locations across the city. Ensuring these locations remain safe, well-maintained, and welcoming for our community is our top priority. So the proposed budget dedicated $1.2 million to capital and deferred maintenance projects. Guided by a comprehensive facilities plan, the library strategically programs maintenance needs based on projected life cycles of building systems, ensuring that projects are prioritized effectively during each annual budget cycle. In this budget, funds are proposed to close a critical gap of heating, ventilation, and air conditioning at Collins Garden and Cody branches. Additional improvements include a new roof for the Forest Hill branch. As we know, the city's budget department has kept us informed. San Antonio may be facing some challenging financial times ahead. In light of that, we worked carefully and collaboratively with the city in developing this fiscal year 2026 budget, always with respect for the broader fiscal picture. At the same time, our library team looked inward to identify efficiencies and made adjustments that protect what matters most, ensuring there is no impact on high-quality service we provide to our community. With that in mind, the library will realign 3 areas: allowing us to reduce 8 positions in 2026. It is important to acknowledge the commitment of the city manager and the partnership with the HR department in supporting the employees affected by this change. They have emphasized that each of these employees has been guaranteed the same rank and the same pay within a city department. Our first preference is still to accommodate these affected employees at our library locations. No one is losing their position or their livelihood as part of this transition. Realignments within the public service areas took into consideration staff workload, organizational structure, and customer experience. Through careful restructuring, this change does not affect public services. We took a hard look at our budget and can realize $180,000 efficiency by right-sizing various budget line items. Again, this efficiency does not pose a serious service disruption. The last efficiency addresses the city's partnership with the San Antonio Book Festival. The Central Library will continue to be venue for the annual event and will continue to provide in-kind support. The fiscal year 2026 budget includes a direct contribution of $100,000 in the library budget, which is a reduction from prior years. I do want to end this still on a happy note that as we look ahead, our goal for 2026 is clear: to deepen community engagement and increase use of library services. We have already started working on some initiatives which we discussed in our last board meeting. You will see us in neighborhoods, you will see us in schools and public spaces, because library belongs everywhere San Antonians are. Thank you.
Any questions for Sucrit? I'm sure Kathy will provide a little bit of support as well in case there are specifics about the budget. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Sucrit. You're off the hook, Kathy. No hard questions for you. Next, we're going to consider the acceptance of artwork donated by the San Antonio Public Library Foundation.
This is an art piece for consideration for board acceptance. But first, before I start kind of walking you through which piece it is and the context for it, I would like to introduce the artist, Danville Chadbourne, who's here with us tonight with his partner, Diana Roberts. So here, right here. We decided invited the artist here based on the experience last time of asking about what was the inspiration for the art, what does it mean? So we thought we better have the artist here to answer those important questions. So what we have is, in partnership with the foundation, we wanted to try to find a way to transition the long-term loan, the 2-year loan of the art piece you see before you, which is called The Compulsive Search for Ancestry, which is currently located in the Art Walk. We all walked past it probably for this meeting. So transition that from a loan to a permanent part of the collection. So the foundation very graciously has fundraised for that purpose, and will be purchasing the piece and donating it to the library if the board accepts the art piece tonight. So this is just a little bit of information about the art piece, but I know we're all very, very familiar with it. So back in March 2023 was when the art loan agreement started, because it was part of our reopening of the Central Library and the unveiling of the Art Walk. So we were very excited to have that. We were able to extend the loan for another year. And then, of course, that kind of brings us to tonight with consideration of acceptance of the piece on a permanent basis based on the foundation fundraising for it and buying the piece if you accept it tonight. So that would be the next step depending on the board action. So it feels a little silly to show you where the artwork is because, again, we all walked past it on the way to this meeting, but it's a beautiful piece in a prominent location just as you enter the library, and it's really the first piece of art you see on the Art Walk. So,
Can we invite the artist up to tell us a little bit
Absolutely.
about how it's made? Tell us about the materials and yes, and tell us about the title, because very interesting.
That much time, but this is a piece that is part of an ongoing series of works I've been doing for like 30 or 40 years. Ceramic and wood, most of it's clay. I work in clay and wood, dominant materials. And I do lots of different kinds of work, but this particular set of works have to do with kind of monument-like forms. And rather than monuments to, let's say, war heroes or something that's like oddball and problematic, these are artworks that are really more about monuments to ideas and conceptual things, to spontaneity, to invention, to poetry, to searching for things and whatever. And this particular piece, the title, Compulsive Search for Ancestry, is complicated and layered, and it would take some time to really go into it. But it does suggest the idea of everyone's individual maybe need to find some relationship to their own history or to one's history or to culture history or whatever. But it's not specific. It's not about one individual place, but it's about all of our perceptions about that kind of stuff. So it's a very broad-based kind of conceptual kind of work. So I could tell you more and more about it for long periods of time, but I don't think you need to hear an enormous amount of narrative about it. Any questions about that? Or, and I'd be glad to discuss anything else you might want to discuss about it. Anything? Anyone? You've all seen the sculpture. It's been here for a couple of years, so I'm sure everyone knows the pieces there. I'm very happy about the fact that it's been here for a couple of years. It's been great. So.
And some of us also saw your larger exhibit of other pieces that you had in the gallery next door.
Yeah, right
as
after
well.
this was done in the spring a couple of years ago, Haley Holmes had invited me to do a show. It was good timing and it was a perfect situation. And I've always loved this gallery here. We've been coming to the library since it opened. And I've always wanted to do a show there, so this was like a perfect time to basically show some more of the same kind of work. So that show was really about more of the same kind of works from that whole cycle of things. It was a great exhibition. It was a really fun opportunity. So.
And a fun fact is that I did a photo shoot I did a photo shoot with my family in that exhibit also.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
so that was fun. Okay, any other questions? Otherwise, we can transition back to Kathy being at the podium, and then I'll entertain a motion. Are there any questions for Kathy? Thank you. No questions for Kathy? Okay, so I'll entertain a motion, and we have a staff recommendation for a motion on the slide behind me.
I move we accept the donation by the San Antonio Library Foundation of the art piece entitled The Compulsive Search for Ancestry by artist Danville Chadburn, and thank you both to the foundation and the artist.
I second.
Was that Josie that provided a second? Thank you, Josie, and thank you, Beth. Let's go ahead to do a roll call vote, Edward.
Carla Gugliello. Joanne Harris. Josie Martinez. Andrea Sanchez Muniz is absent. Marianne Valdez Hernandez.
Aye.
Fernanda Cardenas is absent. Michelle Douglas Robelo. Aye. Marcy Ince. Beth Graham
Aye.
is absent. Jaspreet Kaur.
Aye.
The motion passes.
Thank you very much. Next, we'll have an agenda item to review and consider the approval of the revised San Antonio Public Library campaign sign policy.
Again, Madam Chair, Trustees, Library Director. So I have, you have in your packet and you received a revised campaign sign policy for the San Antonio Public Library. The library has been a place for people to vote for so many years that no one can remember how long it's been a place for people to vote. In 2014, the election in the spring of 2014, we had a lot of problems with campaign signs blocking visibility of cars going in and out of the parking lots. So we started with this sign, We went from this sign to the policy you have in front of you. So that sign was the whole policy when it started. And then this board enacted a policy in August of 2015. That didn't work for long. We still use those signs, by the way. You may all have seen them in branch libraries when the library is serving as a voting location. So we still use that sign in the designated campaign sign area. We started working on this policy when Paul Stahl, the former board chair, was chair of the policy committee. We developed the policy. We were good to go. We're ready to bring it to the board. And then Paul very wisely said, my wife is actually a candidate on this upcoming election. Like, do you think we should maybe wait? So we consulted the city attorney's office, and they were like, you don't have to, but sure, that would look a lot better. And then also, Christina and her colleagues recommended that we bring this policy during a time there was no active election. So it took a while. So, you know, it's been a while. But then, two wonderful things happened. One is that we had the most complex election that we've had in the time I've been here in 13 years, the most complex election from the 10 years I was in the city of Dallas, which was to have 26 candidates for one office. So that really stretched our campaign signs. Also, we had a lot of people who weren't being assisted by a party trying to help a candidate campaign. And I say that's good because it really pushed the boundaries of what we had and gave us a lot of experiences that we had never had before. And I think all of that went into the development of this policy. So I said there were two great things. I have never called out a single trustee before in policy development. But the other great thing was Michelle, because the many years she has as an election official, she was able to bring that knowledge and experience, you know, to the policy committee, and I think really give us that other side of, you know, insight into the policy development. So the policy that's been developed, so thank you, Michelle, again, first time I've ever called out a single trustee, but for those on the committee, I think you would agree that really it was really, really helpful to have your experience. So the policy that we've developed has been reviewed by the Office of the City Clerk. They administer elections for the city, even though Bexar County Elections Department is actually responsible. By the Bexar County Elections Department, they both had some very minor, like maybe change may to will, like that kind of little tiny suggestions. Each version of it was vetted by the city attorney's office. They don't, as you know, really approve the policy, but they tell us if there's any problems, and that's where we are now. So, well, there's that. So, I thought I had I didn't bring my. But before I start with the actual policy itself, let me just ask if any of you have any questions about it, if there's anything in particular that you want me to focus on, or any question you had. Otherwise, I'll kind of just begin and go through kind of some of the main differences.
I have a few specific questions.
Sure.
Can I ask those now?
Sure,
Okay.
I think that might be the easy, you know, in the interest of time, that would.
Sure. Okay, on page 2 in section A3B, under campaign signs may be adjusted by library staff.
Right?
Under number B, I think that sentence is not complete.
Well, yes, it's missing the word policy.
Okay.
So, Edward, if you'll just make sure for the copy that we signed. Yes, thank you.
Okay, and then the next question is under B, campaign sign rules, I'm sorry, under C, campaign sign placement.
Yep.
It says that so under 1, there's A and B, and I have a question on both of them.
Okay.
So the first one says that campaign signs held by individuals rather than placed in the ground are not included in the 3-sign rule limitation. And I think that is, my understanding is that's probably referring to people who show up on the day of an election.
Right.
And they're like more than 100, or they're following the guideline, but they might be wearing a shirt or carrying a
Third or
sign.
holding a sign, right.
Yes, and is there a limit to how many people can be there, or is that not, that's exempt from all of the policy? Okay, and then the same question about the campaign signs affixed to vehicles, which is like a different flavor of the first one. Vehicles can be closer than that 100-foot guideline. Well,
That's why it
vehicles can
says
be.
subject to Texas election code.
Well, vehicles can be closer than the 100-foot guideline, and so can we clarify that? Because there are places you can drive at library locations that are closer than 100 feet. So if someone is like lingering or returning a book for an hour with an election sign on their car, they would need to move, right?
Right, and that's what the subject to Texas election code, the election judge actually takes care of that.
Okay.
So really what this is saying is that is subject to the law rather than this policy.
Okay, got it. Can we add that to the first one then, too? The subject to Texas election code to 1A? To make it really
Yes,
clear?
absolutely, we can.
Okay. And then my last question for now is on the guidelines campaign sign area. So A, number 1, it says signs may only be erected within the area designated by the library location manager. Are we really leaving that to the discretion of the manager?
So the manager designates the area. They consult with their public service administrator, but it really is very site dependent because it really depends on the grounds, where's the door to the elections. So it's the location manager in consultation really with the election judge and knowing the layout of the building. But there isn't any like one standard how it has to be at each location.
Are we providing them with guidelines? Because what I would hate is for the decision, if it lies with a single person, to feel any type of pressure during election time to change or adjust the location based on just any given reasons.
We could think, it hasn't been an issue at all, and that's the way it's, that it's been, and which, believe me, I think it's worth considering. Because we're going to make these other small changes, and I'll work with Christina, if we think that's a minor enough change, does that seem like it would be? I think it would be. If that clarity that the location manager is making that decision, informed by others, I think you could still, if you wanted to, approve the policy tonight. We could make that clarification, and then we could bring the policy just right to you first. I'm not getting ahead of you all approving it. I'm just saying if you did approve it, I think we could still.
And I want to provide a little more context so that trustees can also weigh in on this. I'm just thinking about the nature of elections in Texas and how they're becoming even more cutthroat in a certain way. And so I just want to make sure that we're protecting our managers against any unnecessary pressure.
I think we could add something like with approval by library administration or something like that. And then that puts the deciding, a little remote from the building.
Right.
And I think that's still kind of nominal to the meaning, but I do like that clarification. I liked the clarification when you first said it. I just couldn't quite get to how we could say it, but I think that would work really well.
Thank you. And I'm going to start to the left and see if anyone else has questions.
Sure.
I have a question and a comment. Does the location election judge set the 100-foot limit and all of that before everything gets set up, right? The campaigning,
Right,
okay.
and we know in our existing buildings, we know how we're going to set
Right.
it up, and we know where it will be. Just because you asked that, Beth, I will say, like when Schaefer and Encino were new, we met with Bexar County Elections in advance of there being an election there to work out, okay, this is where people will go in, and this is where the electioneering limits will be.
And then I have a very picky change to request, and I wouldn't accept, you hear about things like this making a difference sometimes. On page 2, C2A, the correct plural of right-of-way is rights-of-way.
Certainly is. Usually I get all those, it's when you write by committee instead of by yourself.
Sorry. Thank you.
I'm going to blame somebody else, not me. I'm probably the one that wrote it, but I'm still going to blame somebody, some unnamed person. But I do know, and I agree.
Yeah, there you go. ChatGPT is what Michelle says.
No, I have never used ChatGPT.
Okay.
at work.
Beth, do you have any other questions or comments?
No,
I want to
I'm
make sure
done.
we
Thank
get to
you.
the, Marcy, you're good? Okay, I want to make sure we have time for the folks on the right. And Marianne, also good? Okay,
Okay,
great.
So I just want to say briefly, the biggest change in this policy, pretty much, it's expansive, it gives more detail. Some of you may have been familiar with, you surely all had memorized this policy, so you can see it provides more detail. The biggest difference is more detail about the parking lot and keeping the parking lot free and no longer allowing those 40-foot trailers to park in the parking lot, and they'll have to deal with it, but now we're prohibiting them. And then the other thing is these shade canopies. We had not had them before. We spent a lot of time with staff, the city attorney's office, the committee. We kind of all wanted to prohibit them. But this municipal election that's in May, it is so hot that it really seemed uncharitable to prohibit them. But what we found, if you read through this section F on the canopies, what we found is that in the absence of rules, people were putting up canopies, covering them with 30 signs, and then leaving. So they were using the canopy just to be more campaign signs. So we kind of focused here that the purpose of the canopy is to shade a person. It's not to add 30 more campaign signs.
If that's the case, Dale, it doesn't specifically say that the canopy can't have not a sign, but like some canopies are printed and have like printing on them. You can get by like these custom printed canopies, so you may want to specify specifically that a slogan cannot be, a campaign slogan or picture should not be printed on the canopy as well.
Sure, yeah, we have this, a single sign, but we could add a few more words to add a little clarity to that really means just that one sign, not print the whole canopy.
So does that single sign, it's to be held by a person, or
It can be put on the canopy.
Oh, it can.
That is what most campaigns do. They put a sign on the canopy so that people who are interested in talking to that campaigner know who they're talking to.
Yeah, okay.
They don't want, people I think feel much more comfortable talking to the campaign that they know what campaign it is. They don't want to walk up to it.
Oh, okay. That makes sense now. Okay, you can disregard my previous comment.
No, I think it makes absolute sense, and I think we can again add a little clarifying phrase there. And I just keep making, I think we haven't yet made enough changes that we need to bring this back unless you all think otherwise.
Christina, you're agreeing with that statement?
Yes.
So we've identified like 5 changes, I believe. And you're agreeing that the change to campaign sign area to add by the library location manager with approval from library administration, and then also the completion of the sentence that do not follow the policy, that word was missing. And then in campaign sign placement, adding subject to Texas election code to 1A, and then correcting the spelling of right-of-way, that all of those changes are permissible, we can still take action? Okay.
As amended.
Yep.
Yeah. We'll add as amended to the motion, and we'll be good.
Okay, so are there any other questions or comments? Can we go ahead and entertain a motion?
Okay, I make a motion that we approve the revised campaign sign policy with
As amended.
Go, yeah.
As amended.
Second.
We have a motion, thank you, Michelle, and a second. We have a second from Marcy. Thank you both. And Edward, can you lead, any discussion or additional comments? Okay, Edward, can you read?
Carla Guriolo. Joanne Harris. Josie Martinez. Andrea Sanchez Muniz is absent. Marianne Valdez Hernandez.
Aye.
Fernanda Cardenas is absent. Michelle Dalbas Robledo. Marcy Inks. Beth Graham. Judy Cruz is absent. Jaspreet Kaur.
Aye.
The motion passes.
Thank you, Dale, and to the Ad hoc Policy Committee. Next, we have the consideration of the delegation of selection closure dates to the library director, and Kathy will be presenting.
So this item is to consider whether you will delegate to the library director closure dates for the on-site solar projects. So just brief background. Back in February at your board meeting, you approved the designs for all the on-site solar projects, save one, which is Carver Branch, which will come to you later. But you approved it for Bertolo, Las Palmas, Mazan, Encino, Maverick, Rodriguez, Memorial Mission, and Schaefer. We learned from the IGO branch library project, which is the first one we had completed, that it can take CPS a little bit more time than just before open on Monday or Tuesday to switch over the power. So CPS gave us some feedback. We're in progress on the Bertolo branch library on-site solar project right now, and they requested, could a short closure be considered? And of course, the board always approves whether closures can be done. So they're requesting approximately a one-day closure, only if needed, on these projects. So that's why we're bringing it to you tonight for your consideration to delegate to the director kind of nimbly as the projects get to that point, having a potential closure of a day of service. Of course, if you approve this tonight, if a closure is required for a particular project of that short time, we would minimize the time the branch was closed. So for example, say you delegate, Sucrit selects a certain day to close, but we're able to turn the power over, before opening time, we would open as usual. We would communicate that, of course, to the public and keep the facilities committee and the board apprised of the projects as they go forward. So we are requesting your consideration of delegating closure dates to the director for those on-site solar projects. Yes, because of the scheduling with CPS, it might not be as far in advance as we normally notify the public of a closure. It would probably be more like days or weeks as opposed to a month, which is our typical goal. So it would have to be a little bit nimble. It's sort of similar to the Johnston Branch Library closure we had to do recently, where the time frame to notify the public was a little shorter, but then the closure was short.
I'm sorry, maybe so the closure will be like, what, one day at the most?
Yes. The IGO Branch Library Project, which was the first one we completed, we worked with CPS to schedule the switchover before we opened at noon. And I can't remember if it was a Monday or a Tuesday, but I think it was a Monday. And then it was so tight that now they've asked us if we would consider allowing them more time on that day. So we would anticipate at most it would be a one-day closure.
I think the concern, I'll just go ahead and voice this, the concern that we all have is like having a closure without a lot of notice. It can be very disruptive for the community, especially in some of our, and IGO is a perfect example where it's basically after-school care for all the local all the schools in the area. And Cody is like, there's so many of these branches are like that. Johnston is like that too. So when that happens, and we're not giving enough notice, there's a sensitivity, I think, amongst the trustees for that. So what I would like is for, as you're applying your discretion to these, to just employ the most tactics possible to get the word out about the potential closure. And then, of course, to, because we are always balancing the speed of work, just to encourage our partners that are performing the work to work quickly and not just, take it easy because they know they have the full day. And I know Cody, it was it was really like a short timeline and there was a lot of pressure because the branch was opening I think it was at noon that day. So of course we don't want to do that, but at the same time, we want to balance it so that if they're done at 12 and we're closed all day, that kind of thing. Maybe Mark is going to give us some assurances here.
We're in constant contact with the contractors, obviously. We do request a minimum of 2-week notice for any of these shutdowns. With CPS, they have to do the scheduling, and it's hard for them to go beyond 2 weeks a lot of times, but that's typically what it would be for 2 weeks.
And I would like to add, so in recent conversations, we were having the same kind of conversation, and we were going to pick a day when library doesn't open until noon, so we will also have that morning, so just in case. Of course, we will do our due diligence, and we will still keep board informed, even though, yes, you are hopefully giving director the authority for these closures, but we will take every single step to inform the board. This is what's happening, and of course inform the community as soon as we are able to.
Also, I'd just like to comment that we have had to close libraries with no notice because the air conditioning went down, or the heating went down, or the lights went out, and that causes real disruption. And so if we get any notice at all, it'll be better than that. And the work does need to be done. So I would ask, however, for example, if they are planning to do it in the morning before we open at noon, and it turns out that it takes 2 hours, would we then open at 2, or would we stay closed? Okay, excellent.
And what we did for IGO, which I think is a good practice, is we scheduled the switchover on a Monday morning when we didn't open until noon, and of course on Tuesdays we don't open until noon either. So that just gives us a little buffer.
That's what I was going to share, because it seems like if CPS has 8 hours, from 8 to 4, that at least by 4 to 8, because at the budget meeting that I went to, there was a lady that came up to me afterwards, and that was one of her major concerns about the library closing early on days that children are out. And if the library can be open from 4 to 8 at Schaefer, you know, instead of the whole day gone. Mhm.
Delegation of the selection of the closure date. And I think we have, yes, we have a recommendation for those specific branches.
I move we delegate selection of closure dates to the library director for implementation of the of the approved on-site solar projects at Brook Hollow, Las Palmas, Basan, Encino, Maverick, Macrelis Memorial, Mission, and Schaefer Branch Libraries.
Carla, you second? Okay, thank you, Beth and Carla. Any other questions or comments? Okay, Edward, thank you.
Carla Guglielmo. Joanne Harris. Josie Martinez. Andrea Sanchez Muniz is absent. Marianne Valdez Hernandez.
Aye.
Fernanda Cardenas is absent. Michelle Dalbis Robledo. Marcy Inks. Beth Graham. Judy Cruz is absent. Jaspreet Kaur.
Aye.
Motion passes.
And with that, I will entertain a motion for adjournment. It's always Marcy. No, we don't need to vote on that one. Thank you all. Thank you to Crit and team for the expeditious handling of the board meeting today. I appreciate that.